Okay. Sorry.
What?
It's not gonna work like this.
Okay, I'm going to be done in a second, okay?
Okay. We started a little bit late, but we're about to start. Welcome to the Pray Hard, Play Hard YouTube channel and podcast. Thank you everybody who's here. Thank you for joining. This week is Parshas Bamidbar. We're waiting for some background noise to end, but it will end momentarily, so let's get to it. So this parsha talks about, just in a nutshell, talks about the counting of the Yidden in the Midbar, and it talks about the Mishkan, how the Levium would carry the things in the Mishkan, how they would dismantle the Mishkan and carry it when they traveled. It talks about the Kehanim taking over the Becharim, and they basically redeemed, right? The Kehanim were however many, not the Kehanim, Levium took over the Becharim, I think, in general, in doing the Avodah in the Beis HaMikdash. And then there were, I think, a few extra Becharim, so they had to redeem themselves with money. And a few other things that happened with the parsha, but that's in a nutshell what's going on. Now it talks about the counting, right? So in Baba Basra it says, in Mesechus Baba Basra, it says like this. That because it says it says to count them to their families, to the houses of their fathers. And it means that only when it comes to the father's family does it really count as family, meaning only brothers from the father is there a for example, for inheriting property and things like that. That's where relation is counted, not if they have the same mother. So, for example, if the mother, if the father passed away and then the mother remarried and they had more kids, they don't really inherit each other. Now, so the Reb Chaim Sefer, he says, and I want to talk about him a little bit about who he was. Very, very interesting. What I found in doing some research, that but he says that it's actually naturally the love that brothers have, right? In Torah it's mentioned many times that one of the greatest types of love is a love of brothers. So he says that that's bedavka when it comes from the father, that they have this natural love. When it comes from the mother, not necessarily, so much so that we even see that sometimes there was hatred between children who shared only the same mother but not the same father. Now obviously this is talking about maybe, a person's natural tendencies, but of course we can override them because we're human beings and we can decide to be bigger than our immediate impulses. But it says in Midrash Tanchuma that we find that most brothers ended up hating each other, or very often that siblings hate each other. And the Minchas Elazar, who is the one of the Munkatcher Rebbes, he says that the reason that there's hatred between siblings, it's not a natural. It seems from what he's saying. He doesn't say that it's not natural, but it develops because either there's inheritance and now one person gets one inheritance and there's fighting between them because they want to get the inheritance, or because one father, or because the father treats one child more lovingly, he has favorites, and that causes hatred. So from what I understood from this is that it means that there are some people who that brothers and sisters naturally they have a natural love, but there are things that get in the way which are very common. And then I think that the Medrash Tanchuma goes on to say that mi tencha ka'achli, who's it taught, who will, it says in the pasuk, who will who will make you like a brother to me. I'm not sure exactly what it's talking about, but it's talking about the greatness of the love between brothers. So what is that talking about? It's talking about Moshe and Aaron. It's talking about specific brothers that you see that they loved each other so much. And Aaron, even though he was older than Moshe, never was jealous of him. He loved him even more, and he respected him, and he really, really was batal to him. He gave himself over to Moshe, who was the leader, and that shows on a true love. And finishes off and says that it's a great foolishness. Sichlus gedolah, he says, a great foolishness to fight over money and to cause pain and crying for generations. It says bechia l'deres. So we can learn from Moshe and Aaron about the beautiful love that they had, and to not prioritize money over family, but prioritize family over money. And like it says that Hashem has not found a greater vessel for bracha than peace. So if you're fighting over money, then what you're doing is you're forfeiting the exact thing you're fighting for, because you're creating argument. God forbid nobody, right? Not you, but if somebody hypothetically were to create arguments over money, then they're not going to create a vessel for that money. So the opposite is necessary if someone wants to have a lasting bracha in all senses of the word bracha, and all types of blessing, and we merit to that. Now, I just want to talk about the name Bamidbar. So the name Bamidbar is the most commonly used that we use, right? Because it talks about the Eden in the Midbar, and it's one of the first words of the parasha. So therefore, we call it Bamidbar. But there's also a few other names, and we're going to go through them. So it says, one of the names actually, it said that it's called Vayedaber, right? Just like Vayikra is the first word of the Sefer Vayikra, and Bereshis is the first word of the Sefer Bereshis, so therefore it's called that. So also there are some people that called, instead of calling it Dvarim, they called it Sefer Vayedaber. Very interesting. And then you have also Chumash HaPekudim, which means the Sefer, the volume of the Pekudim, the numbers or the counting, and like we see in English, and its root is in Latin, that it's called numbers. It's called numbers, or numeri, or numberi. I was reading it, whatever it is, but it already from the root in Latin, it was called numbers, because it deals with counting the Yidden. And then here's a very, very interesting name, which I never heard. It says in Maseches Saita, which we're supposed to be learning right now. I'm not doing too well in that, unfortunately, but I didn't have to publicize that. Anyway, Maseches Saita, it says, from Sefer Shmuel, it says, Halohi ksuva al Sefer HaYashar. Is it not written in the Sefer Yashar, in the Yashar is straight or virtuous, right? In the book of virtue. So, and in the Gemara, citing this pasuk in Shmuel, in Sefer Shmuel, they argue what it is. Some people say it's Sefer Bereshis, and some people say it's Sefer Bamidbar. Now, if it is Sefer Bamidbar, the Karbon Ha'eda says, I forgot who the Karbon Ha'eda is, I think I looked it up. He says that the reason why it's called Sefer Yashar is because there's a pasuk in Bilam where he's saying the prophecy, he's trying to curse the Jews, and instead he blesses them, and he says, "May my soul expire, right, die the death of the virtuous, of the righteous." He's talking about the Jewish people. Now, so it says the word Yesharim, it says Yashar, so therefore it's called Sefer Yashar. But I asked myself, I didn't see this anywhere. But I hope that maybe it could be supported somewhere, and if I see it, I would be very, very happy. The reason why it would be called Sefer Yashar in my mind is, meaning, why would you go after, out of all the psukim in Bamidbar, why would you go after Sefer, why would you go after these words of Yashar? And something that I thought of based on an idea in Chassidus is that the whole point of creation was to create a dwelling place in this physical world for Hashem, to the point where godliness is revealed. Now, if godliness is revealed, that means that everything, every single creation, and every single person and animal and everything, single creation recognizes godliness and recognizes the virtue of the Torah, right? And that's what the Torah was given. And so, therefore, This pasuk that speaks about Bilam, who was a Rasha, who wanted to destroy the Jewish people, he was wicked, and he wanted no good for us, and yet he himself saw with his prophecy and was forced to admit the fact that the Jewish people are living virtuously. They're the correct ones. That is revelation of godliness like no other. And since that's the point of the whole Torah, therefore it's very, very worthy to call the name of this Sefer after that, because that's the whole point of the Torah. And the whole point of creation is to reveal godliness in this world. And this is the ultimate example of that. That was just something that I thought would be a reason to go after that, and I would be very happy if I could find the source for this anywhere. Now, I just wanted to go into Reb Chaim Sefer a little bit, talk about him. Like this. So, Reb Chaim Sefer was born in Prishburg. His father was close to the Chassam Sefer. It's funny, they actually had the same last name, but they're not related. And Reb Chaim Sefer learned by the Chassam Sefer. He also learned by Reb Meir Eisenstadt. He learned by Reb Yamin Zev Wolf Lev or Lo, which it was very, very interesting things I read about him. I would suggest you go look him up yourself. You could type Binyamin Zev Wolf Lev, L-E-V. It's actually, you wouldn't find it on Wikipedia, even though many people you would. It's not really much about him, but look him up. It's very, very interesting. And he also studied by the Ksav Sefer. He taught young students when he was only 23, and then he was the Rav. Now, based in the Rav in many, many different places. He was in Yemring or Giomore, I forgot how it's called. He was in, I think, a place called St. Peter. Again, I did brief research. And he was also a Rav in Munkach. It's very interesting because he actually fought against the neologues, the people who were trying to introduce, enlightenment, so to speak, and modernism to Judaism. He fought against it very much, but he wasn't firm enough, I guess, for Munkach, and they brought the Chassidim. They brought the Chassidish Rebbe's of Munkach instead of him, which I think is very interesting. That they wanted someone even more firm than he was. And then he became a Rav in Budapest, and he was the head of the Orthodox Jewry over there. And he really, really fought against the neologues over there. He really took a stance, and he fought tooth and nail. I guess neologues would be, you could be synonymous with the reform and people who are trying to modernize and really the problem with it is bringing the Torah to the world. Right? The whole point is that the Torah should affect and influence the world, not the other way around. So if you're looking at the world and saying, how can we be more like the world? How can we have the manners like they do and be more cultured? You're looking at who decides what's the right way to live. It should be Torah. Torah is the blueprint of the world. Torah is our life. So therefore, it depends where you're coming from, right? For example, it was the Chassam Sefer. He was very against teaching any type of secular studies at all. Now, during his time, and I'm not going to justify or say I know what it is, but I'm saying whenever there's a choice being made about chinuch, about how to educate the next generation, it's really a question of what is necessary for the furtherance of Torah, for the furtherance of doing our service to Hashem. So today, for example, this is my own opinion, and I think it makes a lot of sense, but I'm not citing this from anywhere else that I could think off the top of my head. Today, when you live in a country where everybody speaks English, so you have to teach English, right? A kid needs how to learn and read and write. Now it's not like, right? You're not teaching it to him because you want him to be like everybody else. You're not trying to have him conform to the world. He speaks this language, he doesn't speak any other language. So in order for him to learn, he has to learn. Right? He has to be literate, and of course you have to teach him also how to read Hebrew and to learn properly. right? That's why the Gemara is written in Aramaic. Why is a Gemara written in Aramaic? Because at those times people spoke Aramaic; they didn't speak Hebrew that well. So the whole point of Torah is, right? You have to make sure that it's having the greatest effect and reaching as many people as you can to bring them to Torah. So in those times, when people were trying to be cultured and to learn the language and to be more like the Goyim, that was the opposite. Nowadays, the argument can be very much made that the English studies that are being taught in schools, if they're done in order to further Torah, and that's very good. That's why, for example, you can bring in the reader, the kid, just as an example, the kids read. If you bring stories from outside that have very often non-kosher content, then you're doing the opposite. You have to tailor the reading material to Torah and to have that be the subject, right? So, if I'm going to give Harry Potter to my kid, and a lot of people may not like it, whatever, I don't even know how many people are seeing this, but the point is Harry Potter is not kosher, and of course it's really, really good for kids because it's so, and as far as it's really good for kids as far as their reading goes, because they get hooked and they learn how to read and whatever it is, but that's not the main thing. The main thing is that it all should be done al Taras HaKodesh. And I just wanted to finish up. Reb Chaim Sefer, he was buried in Pressburg, so his kever is over there. I just wanted to give it, talk a little bit about that. This also applies to the fact that there was the fight on Zionism. What was the fight on Zionism? Yidden finally came to a place where they were safe and they didn't have to worry about the Goyim. This is a very complicated topic. But back then, the top Zionists also wanted to obliterate a lot of the Torah. They just wanted to say, live in the land, and you don't have to, they were really doing away with the holiness of Torah. They were trying to divorce the nationalistic parts from the holiness part, from the godly part, which obviously you can't do, right? The Jewish identity has no standing without the Torah. That Torah defines what Jewish identity is. So, of course, nowadays it's very complicated to stand against Israel. It's very foolish nowadays because we're talking about Jewish lives, and obviously Zionism, very, very largely the original Zionism, they were trying to keep us from they're trying to create a new type of Judaism that largely failed, and there's many Jewish, very God-fearing Jewish communities, but it remains a very, very sensitive and complicated subject. But the main thing is we support Eretz Yisrael. We support our brothers and sisters, and God bless the soldiers of Israel who protect us day and night, and who Hashem is watching. It says in the land of Eretz Yisrael that no matter what, Hashem is always watching it, and may we see Mashiach now. Let's see if there's anything else. Okay, fine. So this is just a little bit of what I want to talk about the Parsha. I wanted to also bring something from the Rebbe. So here where did I see it? Ooh, where did we go over here? So it says, Eila Tilas Aaron and Moshe. These are the children of Aaron and Moshe. Now we know that they're not the children of Moshe, right? They're talking about sorry, let me start over. Aaron and Moshe, it says these are the children of Aaron and Moshe when Hashem spoke to Moshe and Har Sinai. And then it starts to talk about the children of Aaron. So why does it say it's the children of Aaron? Why does it say it's children of Moshe? So Rashi says that because, let me just read it inside. V'nikru telus Moshe, they're called the children of Moshe. Why? Lefishlim them Torah, because he taught them Torah. Ma'ila olav hakasav kilu yilade. So then the pasuk says it's as if he birthed them, he fathered them. And then Rashi goes on to explain B'yoyim dibra Hashem es Moshe, when Hashem spoke to Moshe and Har Sinai. So, and then he says that's when they became his children because he taught them Torah. So now the question is like this. We know that Rashi is very, very precise. He only says what is necessary. So seemingly, he's repeating himself. He says that these are the children. He says when it says that these are the children of Moshe, that they are. Why? Because he taught them Torah. And then again, he says when they were taught in Har Sinai, when Hashem spoke to him in Har Sinai, that they are his children. because he taught them. Because he taught them what he had learned from Hashem. So why did Rashi say the double language? So the Rebbe explains that this is coming to answer a question that Rashi had. If it says that Moshe and Aaron both fathered them, it can't be two different things. If Aaron fathered them literally, so it would have to mean that Moshe also fathered them literally, right? You can't have the same exact thing saying fathered, that he birthed them or he fathered them, about two people and have them mean different things. The one word has to mean the same thing. So it has to mean either physical father, biological father, or father because he taught them Torah. So when the Torah says B'yom Dibra Hashem es Moshe, right? When it says B'yom Dibra Hashem es Moshe b'Har Sinai, when it says those words, that adds something, because at Har Sinai the Jews they were, so to speak, born all over again, right? They became a totally new Mitzias, totally new existence, and that is birth. And so what the pasuk is saying is that because when Moshe Rabbeinu got the Torah from Har Sinai, and he taught them Torah, not just he taught them Torah, but like Rashi says, right, Shalimdan ma shalam and piyagvura, he taught them what he had learned. In other words, he didn't just give them information, but they took it in. He gave it over to them in a way that they took it in, and it really permeated them and changed them entirely. That's why it's considered that he's their father, because they took the Torah in internally, and it really permeated and affected their existence and turned them into different people. And so that's something for us we have to learn. That we learn Torah, we have to understand that it's not just information. And of course, it's very enjoyable to learn Torah, but we always have to remember to be connected to the Neisina Torah, to Hashem, and that's when it really will change us and come into us and make us, people who are really makabel the Torah. Meshuas is very soon. May we be zoiche to be makabel the Torah, b'simcha b'pnimius, as chassidim wish each other. We should be makabel with joy, and internally may it really change us. I want to really wish everybody a beautiful Shabbos. Thank you for joining. Thank you for joining the Prayer Player YouTube channel and podcast. Thank you for joining the Parsha Show. Please smash the like button. Please share it with people. Please subscribe if you like this, and please consider this takes time, this takes effort, it takes research, it takes learning. Please consider becoming a patron on Patreon to support me. It doesn't take a lot. It's only a little bit a month. Of course, if you can, just your view is really Dayenu. That's already really, really special enough. So thank you, and good Shabbos.